The Digivolution is up and running. Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? A Digi Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say.
Welcome to episode 4 of Lost in Translation Mon. This week we watched Togemon in Toy Town, or the Angry Evolution of Palmon, and Ikakumon's Harpoon Torpedo, or Roar Ikakumon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
Our first segment is called Postmon Pat, where we read out any queries or messages or any feedback or any corrections you make or just anything you want to tell us. And our first message is from John Summers on SoundCloud, who, if you remember, sent us our very first fan mail. So John asks us, when the show was being dubbed, why was the perfect level renamed Ultimate when the Japanese version already had an Ultimate level to begin with? Then John says that it really causes confusion because whenever Digimon fans talk about an Ultimate level Digimon, John has to figure out whether they're referring to the Japanese or American versions. So there is a reason for this. With the first ever Digital Monster VPET came out, there were levels Baby 1, Baby 2, Child, Adult, and Perfect. Perfect being the perfect form, the perfect level, which was the final one initially. So, but when this was translated into the American audience, and when the version 1 was released in 1997 in America, they changed it to Ultimate. Now, I couldn't find the exact reason why they changed it into Ultimate, but I can only assume it's because Perfect's more of a grade rather than a power level. Ultimate's more like, if someone's at their ultimate form, they're the highest form you can be. So that's why they changed it to Ultimate. So when the Digimon Pendulum toy was released in 1998, it introduced the new form, Ultimate, but this toy never came to America. It was only released in Japan. So that didn't really have any problems yet. But in the series, when they came to have perfect/ultimate level Digimon, they must have said, we can't really call it Ultimate because we already have an Ultimate, and Ultimate level 2 might not translate well, so we'll use another word that means highest form of power. So that's Mega.
Are you sure it's not that they just misread the translation and Ultimate backwards is perfect?
Maybe. So we have another question. We have another message, which is from Tumblr user Noctilucent Storm, and they say that they listened to the first 3 episodes and they're really enjoying it, and that they like the dynamic that we have, especially the latest episode and Jay's commentary from the perspective of a slightly unwilling newbie.
Slightly.
They also say that they particularly loved the comments that we had on episode 4 about Sora's change and our ongoing criticism of Mimi's dialogue in the dub. And Noctilucent Storm has a question for you, Jay.
Oh, yeah?
Have you been spoiled for any plot points besides those stated in the podcast?
So,
Also, but before he answers, I'm just going to say that this could potentially be a spoiler. So if you are new or don't want to be spoiled for anything in the show, you might want to skip forward like a minute or two, or just wait till I'm talking again, because Jay's going to be answering this one. All right, take it away, Jay.
okay, so kind of. There's the really basic spoilers, which is the stuff that shows up in the opening of. I haven't seen those Digimon before, but I know they're coming. Like the angel, I think. There's 2 of them maybe. You have a poster in your room that has Digimon on it that I've never seen before, and I assume those are spoilers. So yeah, there's that, which is just the show gives those to you. And there's the much later spoiler, and I don't know how to feel about this one because I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I was shown some CG movie, in which there were no kids and there were lots of Digimon around, and there was this one like white Digimon with what I now know to be a Greymon head and a Garurumon head as its arms. And I don't know what happened. All I know is that they discussed the X antibody a lot, and I don't know if that's like a big thing. Maybe it'll come up more later, because the movie
No.
sure as hell didn't explain what that was.
It's in one of the manga. It's in the G Cyber manga, which is quite good. I have read it. It's a bit, I don't know, I found it hard to follow, but I was also like multitasking, and I'm pretty not that great at multitasking.
I wonder what that's like to, I don't know, experience a piece of Digimon media with the X antibody in it and have no idea what's happening.
Maybe I'm just bad at following things. I guess I wasn't really analysing it. Well, maybe we can watch that movie, Jay, and we'll analyse
No,
it.
no, 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 not again.
All right, we also have a comment that I found really interesting on our With the Will thread. It's from Definitely Jeff, the host of Poddigers, and he says that regarding the code on Tentamon's computer, I puzzled over that a couple of years back and concluded it was basic, based on the 10, 20, 30, 40 style line numbers, as opposed to line numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, which could just be any text editor. But that doesn't exactly fit. And then a year or so later, there was some discussion on Reddit about it, and I think the best conclusion is that it's closest to basic, but not any real language. The most notable thing that makes it not basic being the C-style comments. There's probably been a discussion about it on With the Will at some point as well, but I couldn't find anything searching. But yeah, I didn't actually see the line numbers, so that's actually a good point. And I don't know, I found that quite interesting. I did have a sort of look at it, and it did seem a bit C-style. Now I came back. I know I initially said it was Java, but it just looks to me like a hybrid between C and Java. But so as a law student, what do you think of the subject?
Okay, so he was definitely typing it on a laptop. So what that tells me is that he probably used a keyboard to put those on the screen.
Ah,
Am I getting close? Do you think?
yeah.
Okay.
But I just found that interesting. Like, I don't know. I found it interesting as a computer person.
There was absolutely a combination of letters and numbers. I do also know that it said float.
So this week we've decided to have a new subject where I show Jay something that's new and that's probably a lot of Digimon fans have seen. Now I wanted to show him the Digimon Pendulum commercial, but I've already actually shown him that, so he's already had his reaction to it, so we can't really have him react to that.
You mean the single greatest piece of Digimon media in existence?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fantastic. Like, it's synchronized swimmers playing with the Digimon Pendulum toy and shaking them up and down and singing this really weird song, which kind of sounds a little bit like the English dub opening of Digimon. So it's always kind of, I don't know, maybe they're making fun of us.
Also,
But
they're
yeah,
oiled up.
oh yeah, definitely. And like there are some pretty impressive moves. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so this segment I think I'm going to call "I Will Show You DigiWorld," as you know, as a joke. I will show you the world.
Because explaining jokes is the best way to get them across.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you know, explaining is good. Anyway, so this time I decided to show Jay the Brazilian Digimon opening, just because I think that's something that I think everyone should witness. What did you think, Jay?
So, to explain the opening, it is exactly the same as the other opening, except that this random woman just steps out and starts singing along, just green screened in front of it. And then I get to the bit where it's clearly meant to end, and I'm laughing because she's a huge weirdo. I don't know Brazilian TV.
Angelica from I think she's a television presenter.
Angelica from Rugrats is just in front of Digimon, and then it gets a bit where it's ended. He goes Digimon. I'm like, okay, and then there's another like 20 seconds. They edit in more opening to have her there, constantly popping up from the bottom of the screen.
When I first saw that, it was on Tumblr, and I just thought someone was like making this weird sort of fan video. But then when I looked into it, it was actually the Brazilian opening, and it was kind of weird. And yeah, then I remembered it the other day when I was at work thinking about the podcast, which is definitely something that someone should think about at work. And then I was like, hey, new segment. And then I forced poor Jay to watch it.
Oh, poor me.
All right. So if you want to send us any questions or any messages or anything, or even a suggestion for something that I can show Jay to that might be a bit interesting,
Please don't.
not the Digimon tag on Tumblr, which can be a little bit risque at times. I don't think Jay should witness that.
I'm not going there.
Anyway, so if you want to send us any of those, you can send us an email at lostintranslationmon@gmail.com or on our Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, With the Will discussion thread, or even SoundCloud. The start of the episode is sort of strange because there's this horrifying little doll floating in the water in the Japanese version, which is obviously cut. Like, it is quite terrifying.
It's also never brought up again. Like, no one sees it, and nobody
Well,
has any interaction with it.
I think it's just a doll from Toy Town, one of the abandoned toys. But so in the dub, there's a bit of narration from Mimi, just because it's sort of like a reflective piece. She's saying, "Oh, this is what happened," and she calls the place that they're in Digimon Island, which I don't know. It's that I found that really like Digimon Island. I guess you can call it that.
Why wouldn't it be called that?
I don't know, because I think they've already called it the digital world.
Yeah, but isn't it an island in the digital world?
But the island has. I'm not sure if it's been called File Island yet, but
It has in the Japanese. I don't think it has in this one.
yeah. But it's just I don't know. Like it's definitely been called the digital world in the English version. So why couldn't you just say this is the strangest thing that's happened in the digital world, not on Digimon Island?
Actually,
It
that
sounds
does
almost
beg the
like
question: is spoilers for the next episode? They don't know it's an island.
oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right. They don't actually know it's an island. That even makes it a worse line.
Oh, well, it's not. At
All right.
least it's not a Mei line.
Oh yeah, well it is. She says Digimon Island. It's Mimi
No, but
in the English dub.
it's not her being stupid as a result. Like that's not the style of her being forced to
Yeah,
be dumb. It's just bad writing.
yeah. Anyway, so you see the first option, you see the first difference like right off the bat, and it's in the Japanese version. They're playing a popular word game called Shiri Tori, which the only reason I know of it is because of a Vocaloid song where she says, "Let's play a game." Uh, let's play Shiri Tori, and then she finishes it with Rin, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not very good at this." That's and yeah, I should explain the game.
You are the biggest nerd I've ever seen.
No, I'm not. I'm really cool.
Because yeah, I saw this bit and they were doing something, and I had no idea what was going on. I've written down here, I don't understand the game they're playing at the beginning with the songs. It's probably a Japanese thing. Obviously, it is with your Hatsune Miku's.
No, it wasn't Hatsune Miku. It was
That's
it was Rin. It was Rin. She says Shiri Tori Rin, and
I,
then she's like, oh, "I'm not very good at this."
I thought that Hatsune Miku was the Vocaloid.
She's a Vocaloid, but there's also Rin, who's
Oh,
the best Vocaloid.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
disappointed in the planet.
dude, I thought I told you my Roxy Lalonde wig is actually a Rin wig.
I don't know who that is.
So Shiri Tori is a Japanese word game which apparently literally translates to taking the buttocks, but it's also translated to taking the end, which is what you do. You take the last syllable and you find a word that starts with that syllable. So let's say I say Sakura, then the next player would say Raijo, and then the next player would say Onigiri, and then the next player would say Risu, and the next player would say Sumo. But if the next player says Udon, they lose. They lose because if you finish any word with an n, you lose the game. That's just how the rule works.
Why?
And I don't know. It's a game. It's that's the rule to the game. Like how else are you gonna lose? I guess not think of a word.
Exactly.
So you basically just take the last syllable from every word, and you start the next word with that word. But they're doing it with songs. So in the Japanese version, Mimi is singing this song that her dad knows from karaoke, but no one else knows. So everyone just says, "Oh, we should just sing songs that we know, so we can all sing along." But in the dub, they turn it into this thing where now, Jay, I really want you to remember this part. Mimi can't sing in the dub. I want you to remember that.
I did notice that. That was really odd. Like they had to I don't want to say doctor it, but they really had to force it into a comedic bit.
And they all say, "Oh, let's not do solo. Let's all do it as a group instead."
Are you telling me that this is an important plot point?
I just want you to remember that they've stated that Mimi can't sing.
I'll keep it in mind.
All
I
right.
know it doesn't come up in this episode.
Oh yeah, it's not for a while. But anyway, so Sora starts crying because a bit of a water gets on her, and she's a bit freaked because that's a little bit gross. They are in the sewers, but
Yeah, but it's not sewer water that's landing on her.
it's like from the top. It's like condensation or something.
I thought it would be leaking from the surface. I guess
Oh
that
no,
makes more
it's
sense.
gross. Like it'd still be gross. You don't want anything wet dropping on you when you're in the sewer.
I don't know. Her reaction is like a bit over the top, especially since she has a
Yeah.
helmet on.
But yeah, but it touches her shirt. It's gross. Like ew,
She doesn't react as heavily to the second one.
Yeah, but in the dub, they make the reason she's crying is because she's homesick, and she used to sing at home when she was doing the laundry.
I actually think that like, and then in the Japanese one she goes straight into it like I miss doing laundry, and that's her direct statement.
Yeah,
Actually think the connection between what had happened to her and thinking about home was better
yeah, I
because
actually agree.
the step between my clothes are dirty, I'm not actually sad about my clothes being dirty. I'm sad because it made me think of singing while doing the washing, and that made me
Yeah,
miss home. Not so much like, man, I really miss laundry. And she sounded
yeah,
weirdly obsessed with laundry.
yeah. Like it's actually quite reasonable. Like but I think viewers tend to forget. Like she's 10. Like she wants to be home. Like she misses home. She's in this place that she doesn't know where her parents are, and she's with these monsters, and she could have died. Like, that's a big thing for a little kid.
They did fight the Terminator. It is easy to forget.
Yeah. And TK almost like got blown up by the Terminator.
Come with me if you want to digilive.
So another thing I noticed is that Ty bathes with his goggles on.
I did notice. I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, I noticed it and I was like, I've never picked this up before, but like I don't think they're swimming goggles, but why would you wear them in the bath?
Oh, I also know something about Ty. What's the black thing on his arm?
The armband?
But it goes from like he goes from his elbow into the glove. Is it
I
a second glove?
I just thought it was like an armband.
No, but it goes his whole forearm.
Yeah, it's a long armband. It's like an arm warmer. Maybe he has RSI. Maybe he's like me.
Maybe he's got a brace on. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's why he has the glove to hide it.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't have it on the other arm, so I've never really thought about it. I just thought it was like an armband. But yeah, it is weird that he only has it on one. Maybe he hurt himself, like maybe he sprained his wrist or something when he's playing soccer.
Um,
Hey, look, I'd like to point out I just said soccer.
I'm very proud of you,
Yeah, I know I'm learning.
you British piece of shit. Um, I found that the English's version of what the kids miss made a lot more sense. Like,
What, Matt being mean?
besides Matt being mean, Matt's PK is apparently a noob at video games and can never beat Matt.
Yeah.
But what I mean is like, Joe, instead of just being like, man, I miss studying, and that being his entire character, instead of that, he's like, I'm worried about the stuff I'm missing out on, and that anxiety about the other stuff, about what he's missing, is why he should be studying. It's not the act itself, it's catching up on stuff, which makes more sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then in the Japanese, Mimi's obsessed with cola for no reason, and vacation kind of okay. Vacation's a weird one
But
because
she's on holidays at the moment.
she's kind of on vacation as it
Yeah,
is.
she's like, she's not home.
But I think her weird like I miss cola comes out of nowhere and
Well,
is very
she's not having any cola here.
and is really contrived for the thing that comes up right after this.
But I would like to also point out something else.
Yeah?
Matt says, "Oh, I miss when Mum makes steak on Sunday."
Yeah?
He doesn't live with his mum.
Oh. Well, I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lives with his dad. TK lives with his mum. He hasn't seen his mum for a long time for memories. So if he does have a memory, it's from a rather long time ago.
He just sneaks outside the window watching TK eat steak.
She goes, I want that Sunday. Where's my steak?
It smells really good out here alone.
And,
I'm so cool out here.
Yeah, I wasn't scared. I knew it would be okay. But so I was kind of expecting Izzy to have a throwaway line about aliens, but he just misses accessing satellites to look at the stars and the planets. So he's not talking about aliens. So maybe in the last episode when he said I'm going to abandon my alien theory, maybe he actually abandoned it.
What year is this taking place in?
1999.
In 1999, he can access satellites.
Yeah, I guess.
He's 10.
Maybe maybe he goes to NASA a lot. That's not in Japan though.
NASA is not in Japan, you're right.
But see that line, like the other lines, I thought besides Matt obviously having steak night with his mum, the lines made sense in the English one, except for Izzy's, because in the Japanese version he just wants to email his friends on the internet.
I like the idea that in Japanese, like Koshiro, he has better friends on the internet elsewhere, and like these guys he's with right now are just like garbage unfortunates along the way.
Yeah, because they don't have a computer. And Ty whacked his computer.
How dare he? Um, and then the Digimon get racist.
Yeah. So it's no dialogue in the Japanese version. But in the English version, Agumon says,
They really do come from another world.
Oh yeah, I really like that. I like that in English the Digimon react to the kids missing stuff they don't know what it is. Like
yeah,
when they ask the like, "What's a parents?" Like,
yeah.
or "What's Japan?" That stuff that makes them like alien and like not in place is really interesting.
Yeah, and that's not really touched upon in the Japanese one much, I don't think.
And then they hear a noise, and the
Yep.
Digimon are like, "The things that are coming are disgusting and the worst Digimon you could imagine."
They're the most hateful Digimon. And so they're just throwing poop, but in the dub that they change it to Numa Sludge,
Noom sludge. Yeah.
which which makes sense because, I guess poop, like poo is like a funny thing in Japan, but I don't think American TV have as much like toilet humor and like poo jokes as Japan does.
Have to protect the Amerikids. They can't learn what poop is. And then it turns out that the Numemon hate sunlight because they're weird underground poop vampires,
They're nerds.
i.e., weird underground poop vampires.
So what I like in the background of like the last few episodes is that it's the sort of instrumental version of the character whose the episode is about. So this is Mimi's character song in the background, and it's quite nice. And I really like that little touch that's in the Japanese version.
I wouldn't notice.
Well, I do because I like them. I like the Digimon music. It's good.
Okay.
Don't judge me for the life that I live.
I will judge you constantly and consistently.
Then they see that there are vending machines, and something I found strange in the Japanese version is that Sora calls Mimi a child.
But Mimi is younger than them, isn't she?
Only by like a year. I think Sora's 11 and Mimi's like 10.
Well,
But they're still all children.
aside from Takeru, like they're all like their age difference exists and they take it seriously. And that makes sense. When you're in high school, like if you were in year 8, right? Year
Yeah.
9 and 10 kids were really old.
No, I was friends with the Unines when I was in year 8.
Okay. I
I
had a
was
different
cool.
school experience.
Yeah,
You
I
weren't
was cool.
cool.
I was so cool.
Yeah, the Japanese doesn't make much sense with the drink machines because they go like the drink machines probably won't work, but you can see the drinks through the window.
Just punch it. Like I just throw my green plant at it and say break it.
And Palmon sounds like angry that she's about to use them. And I mean, that makes sense when it turns out that they're fake and filled with poop vampires that are hitting on Mimi for no reason. This is when I had to ask myself, like, actually, no, I'll go with the difference first. But in the English, Palmon puts forward that it might be a trap, and thus, when Mimi like doesn't listen to her, she has a reason to be angry at her, which actually makes more sense. So the setup for this scene makes a little bit more sense in English. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that again. Like they're fake vending machines filled with poop vampires that want to date a 10-year-old girl.
Well, she's pretty and like I don't know. We don't really know like what frame of reference, like how old the Numamon are, and like if it's inappropriate to be checking out a 10-year-old or because if they might be like kids. And Palmon seems a bit like she seems a bit okay with them hitting on her in the English version. Like she just says, "Oh, it must be the hat." But in the Japanese version, they're like, so what are you gonna do about this?
Stab it. It's a weird poop vampire. So they run into a giant teddy bear, and it has red eyes that make it look really evil, and then it shoots eye lasers at them. And I was wondering, at the time anyway, if you undid the zip on his back, like what would be inside? Like Digifluff? I think
Well,
you
you see it later
you
on.
do, and it turns out kind of to be Digifluff.
Yeah, it's Digifluff. It's Fluffmon.
Um, and I thought the red eyes might be like a black gear, but it turns out they must be natural because they're painted on the ground of Toy Town, where they end up.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Like those are clearly his natural eyes, even though they make him look really evil. And spoilers for the ending, when he is not evil, his eyes are closed so that you don't see them anymore.
So maybe he's always evil.
And then, yeah, so she's in the town, and it looks like the kids got mind controlled in some way. Do you realize that? Well, do you think that this was done better in English or Japanese? Like,
Some of the things I was saying seemed a bit lame in the English version, but I just prefer the Japanese version, so that might just be that clouding it.
I actually think the English was slightly better.
Really?
Because in the English it doesn't have the bits where they talk about in the English they don't have the bit that talks about what the powers of the new Digimon are, which means that it never told you that Monzemon has the power to make his enemies happy. So you don't know what's going on with the kids when they're
Oh yeah,
running
that makes
around.
sense.
There's like a mystery to it, whereas in the Japanese it tells you what happened.
Mm.
And then it kind of looks like they're trying to reveal it with the hearts later, and
Yeah.
I just assumed it was the eye lasers.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So the one that really stood out to me was Koishiro. In the Japanese version says, "I'm happy. I'm happy. I've never been happier." But in the English version, Izzy says,
Oh joy, what a delightful activity. This activity is really delightful.
And then Mimi goes, "Well, he never talks like that."
yeah, and also Mimi says in the English version, "Oh, I guess they were always weird." So she shrugs it off. She's just like, "Oh, that's normal, I guess."
It's really weird, actually. She's like, they're just just they're completely weird, and she's like, it's fine, it's
They'll
nothing.
get over it.
In the Japanese, they say like, "Where are the Digimon? We should know where they are. They should be with them. Where are they?" So they go looking for them. In the English, because she just says they're a little bit weird, they just leave. They stumble on the Digimon by accident.
Mm.
There's a bit I need to ask you about.
Yeah.
In the English, when they're being chased by Monzemon before, by
Yep.
Teddybearmon,
Yep.
in the English he asks, so they stumble on the Digimon, and then you have a very long flashback to how they all got there.
Yep, which is this pretty much the same for all of them. Especially Tai and Sora's. Like they're running, the Digimon turns around, attacks, attack does nothing. Monzemon attacks, they get flown away by hearts.
And I can't believe the Digimon are still surprised that their attacks don't do anything.
I'm more confused as to why they don't try to digivolve.
That's also true. That's weird. They really should do that.
Like their adult forms are a lot stronger, and they're going to see a big thing. They're going to say, "That's definitely not a child form. I'm going to digivolve."
And we know from the next episode they can essentially do it at will.
Yeah.
Not even when their own people are in trouble.
I mean, I guess maybe they don't think of it as something that they should do yet because they've only just learned how to digivolve. So it's like this doesn't come natural to
You'd think
them.
they'd want to do it all the time.
Oh, definitely. Or maybe they don't have the power to, or something like the energy. But they usually can. But like, yeah, that's always just crossed my mind. Is your attack doesn't work. Your reaction should be digivolve, or when you see a stronger Digimon, you should go, "Oh, that's stronger than me, probably."
While we're on the topic of getting floated away by heart balloons, um,
Spirited away by the teddy bear.
exactly, the Japanese name is Lovely Attack, and the English name is Heart Attack, which is a
Yep.
way better name. It's way better.
Yeah, you do have a point. But it's a bit scary, yeah?
Well, actually, that's the thing. This is almost a horror episode, all up. The Japanese has this line where they're going to erase their emotion and make them toys for toys. I'm like, oh God, that sounds
Yeah.
really frightening.
Yeah, it is a bit.
The English one is just they're going to make them toys, but they're going to make them serve the toys. It's less scary, except they have this line, which I don't know what it means. It's our toy box is only filled with children. So here's the thing. Are there other children on the island? Aren't these the
Oh.
first children they've ever met?
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
So maybe there are other. Is that where Willis is?
Jeez. There is no Willis.
Well, he was mentioned in the movie and he still hasn't shown up, so I have to assume he's in the toy box.
Maybe.
And
So then I noticed something that in the dub, sometimes they call each other by just their first part before the mon. Like Palmon calls Agumon Agu in the dub, and I know in Biomon gets firepower. Sora keeps on calling Biomon Bio or B.
I know
They
it's
tend to-
B. I didn't notice Bo.
I think she calls them her Bio like as well, but but Palmon in this episode definitely calls Agumon Agu.
Hey,
So
Ogo.
it's the version of Digimon you like without the mons on the end of everything.
True. It is preferable. Can we take Digi off things now as well?
Well, the Japanese one doesn't have many digis.
Prodigious. That has to go as well.
It's the best phrase ever.
Alright, so we got the call to action, and Mimi goes out to fight, and she doesn't seem super into it in English. I assume because she doesn't actually she doesn't actually care about any of the other kids, because they're a little bit weird, and it doesn't matter if you save them or not.
So the Numamon start attacking Monzaemon, and Mimi says, the Numamon are fighting for me, even if all they do is throw poop. I think that was quite a nice turnaround because she's realizing that, you know, they're still standing up for her. They want to protect her, even if they know that they can't. So they're trying their best, and I just thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, sweet, but also right next to them, her sexually harassing her all episode.
Yeah, like they are asking her for dates and kisses, and you know, it's
And
a bit spoopy.
she's like, but no, though.
But nay, though. So Palmon also, you know, she puts on her anger face and she goes, "They're cowardly and useless, but they're dedicated to protecting Mimi." And then she digivolves. But in the dub, she
To take it to the next level, I may be a lady, but I am not a pushover.
See, here's a question about like representation of strong females in media. Do you think that line about I may be a lady, but I'm no pushover, do you think that's good that they included that, or do you think that it's well enough implied that it dumbs it down for the audience to have it said? Because there's something to be said that it being said directly to a child audience is a good thing, but also maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
well, maybe it can also be sort of read as most ladies are like her saying that may insinuate that most ladies are pushovers.
That's true.
Like, you know, ladies are pushovers, but I'm not.
Because I'm a cactus.
Yeah. But like I definitely don't think it's meant that way. I think it's more of a sort of thing saying like I may be a lady, but I'm tough. And then but when she's digivolving,
Time to show this Digimon some manners! Palmon Digivolve to...
and I just think that's really cute.
Do they usually say stuff while they're digivolving?
And the Japanese version, no.
Because I always think that implies that it takes a certain amount of time for
Oh, it
to
definitely
digivolve,
does.
which begs the question: why doesn't they just punch the ones that are digivolving?
That happens. Like that definitely happens.
Really? You can just stop them.
Yeah, definitely. If you attack them mid-digivolution, they're gone.
You can just press B and they stop
Yeah.
evolving.
Yeah, like in Evolve. Like, if you attack something, you can definitely get some free hits on them, and sometimes you can, like in Digimon, you can stop their evolution. So, something that really, I don't know, it seemed a bit strange to me in the English version. She calls out her attack as
Digimon Needle Spray!
That's like me punching someone and yelling "human punch."
I'd like to point out, I'm pretty sure she doesn't ever say Digimon Needle Spray again. The attack is called Needle Spray. But I really do like the sort of rolls off the tongue in the Japanese version because it's Chico Chico Bang Bang! I think it's really cute. Like, it just rolls off the tongue. Chico Chico Bang Bang.
That's a movie.
Yes. I know, but it rolls off the tongue.
No, it's a movie. Movies
You're
are
a
off the tongue. You see them.
Jesus. So anyway, this now Digimon turns into Hajime no Ippo, which I've never seen, but Jay has, and
Yes,
I've heard
good
enough about
reference
it.
to the boxing anime.
Yeah. All I know is that it's a boxing anime. That's all I know about it.
And so the jet engine set up, and she Dempsey rolls the teddy bear. It's that move where you duck from side to side and you throw hooks at their face until they fall
Right.
down.
Right.
And in
But I
the
kind of like that.
and in the anime that you reference, they play jet engine noises while he does it. It's fucking,
That's
it's
cool.
so awesome.
That's cool. Anyway, so after Monzaemon is defeated, the Black Gear shoots out of his back and all the stuffing comes out, which is quite violent.
Question:
Yep.
He's a perfect level Digimon, right?
Yep.
And Andromon was also a perfect level Digimon, right?
Yep.
How come a level that Togemon is couldn't beat Andromon? In fact, three of them couldn't until Izzy essentially cheated. Uh, how come they couldn't beat him, but this one in a one-on-one fight was easy?
Togemon is Data and Monzaemon is Vaccine. So in this rock, paper, scissors, Data beats Vaccine.
And so that
So
makes up for a whole level?
yeah. So it's sort of like, in Pokemon, you can sometimes make up for a bit of a level difference by types and if you're strong enough. But it is also to do with the Black Gear, and you, like, if you injure it where the Black Gear is, the Black Gear will come out, presumably.
Yes, injure it all over and it will shoot out its back along with its guts.
Yeah. Also, Togemon's strong. Like, Togemon's the best.
What I like about so they beat it with the black gear and it's gone, and now its eyes are closed, so you don't see its evil red eyes. Um, and it explains that it planned to enslave them, but because it says it nicely, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I get it if it got the gear and it's like, oh, I should enslave people. But they take the gear out and it's like, I was only trying to make you toys for my toys.
Yeah, well, it made kind of sense. Like, he was lonely on he felt sorry for all these toys that are being left and abandoned and no one wants to play with them, so he wanted someone to play with them. And the Black Gear sort of made that part of him evil, I guess.
It only really made sense with the Japanese bit at the beginning with the abandoned doll.
Yeah.
It's completely meaningless in the English without that.
It is a bit horrifying, though.
Oh yeah, it is, obviously. In America, it's a fragile, fragile beings. But, there's no subplot there. Like, it just comes completely out of nowhere otherwise.
Yeah. But so when they're talking about the Black Gears, Ty says that he's starting to take the Black Gears personally, and I found that a bit funny, and I don't know why.
It's just taken him a while to figure out the obvious.
Yeah, the Black Gears aren't good.
Yeah, they're turning good things evil. He's like, these have been really inconvenient. Maybe.
So then Monzaemon says heart attack with a hug, but it's still just lovely attack. And they go up into the hearts, and Numemon says, "Babe, kiss me," and then she goes, "No," in the Japanese version, and it's kept the same in the English version because it's "kiss for your hero," and she goes, "No." So I like how they kept that bit.
So I have a question. If there was if the Black Gear made them smart at all, like made them intelligent rather than just full of rage, it occurs to me that that could have been how it began. He says hello to them all, he gathers them all up, heart attacks them, and just gets them all. Like, if he was still evil at the end, and they just walked into the bubbles, the show would be over.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's just like, yes, with a hug, attack, and then just mind controls them all. And
I never thought of that. That's actually a really good point.
They all
But I
seem
don't think
weird.
it makes them smart.
They all seem weirdly comfortable with going into the bubbles after the mind control the first time.
Yeah, well, I think they believe him.
And so ends Digimon at episode 6.
So, what did you think of this episode as someone who was new to Digimon?
I think that it is one of the most bonkers weird things in the show. There are just some situations that make just completely no sense. And I mean, compared to the stuff we've seen before, I mean, just collectively, you go over to a vending machine, the front of it falls down, inside is a slug that throws poop at you, but also wants to date you, and at the exact same time, the sun gets hidden behind clouds so that their vampire weakness is not activated. And in English, particularly, it just happens to be the leader of the underground poop vampires that you find. None of that makes sense. And the whole setup is fairly contrived.
Well, Numemon evolves into Monzaemon in the Digimon toy.
What?
In the original Digital Monster VPET, Numemon was the only one to evolve into Monzaemon, I believe. Which is actually the strongest in the VPET version 1, but you had to have the bad one to get it. It was the same in version 2. You had to go through Vegemon to get the strongest, which was Vetamon.
So you're telling me that the weird sewer dwellers turn into a teddy bear?
Yes.
Why?
Mm.
You know what?
Anime.
You know what? I'm proud of them not strapping metal to it, but also why?
Maybe that's what's inside the suit. Like Monzaemon is a suit.
No, we saw inside it already. It's Digifluff.
Yeah, it's Digifluff, maybe also Numemon. Maybe the
Maybe it's-
Numemon is made from fluff.
No, maybe the fluff is Noom sludge.
Ew. Maybe it goes grey because it's kind of getting old.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so did you find the changes that you noticed, like, do you think they were justified?
Yeah, absolutely, actually. In this case, I think the English changes in a lot of ways made the episode make a lot more sense.
Mm.
And I think you'll notice that, wow, Mimi was almost entirely reasonable the whole episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There was
Except for Digimon Island.
Well, that's not her fault. That was like that's an accident in writing because the character would never figure that out.
Yeah.
So it's not a screw up of the character; it's a screw up specifically of the writer.
Yep. I definitely thought that the changes were more for the localization point this time because Shiritori is not a game that is played by English-speaking children, but it is popular in Japan, but not there. So they changed it, and to make their reaction to Mimi make sense, they had to make it her not being able to sing, which leads to other questions that we'll get to later on when we get to them. But for now, we think that she can't sing.
Hey, she had singing lessons for 3 years.
Yeah. Did they help?
She needs a refund.
Yeah.
All right, episode 7.
All right. So the start of the episode was narrated by Mimi because her episode was the previous. And it's pretty accurate except for the likes and the totalies, the typical popular girly girl way of talking. Like, totally awesome. That sort of way.
At least she didn't mention going to the mall.
Yeah, but Mimi says that Palmon's not bad for a plant, and I think that's quite cute. So the start of the episode has no dialogue in the Japanese version, but in the English version, it's Gomamon saying,
I know this is no day at the beach, Joe, but that's no reason to be a worrywart about it and make all your friends unhappy. Pardon the pun, but chill out.
And the snow at the beginning is interesting because obviously we've been traveling through a lot of weird weather. It occurs to me that it's possible that Tai is wearing gloves in preparation for a snowball fight, like just now.
Yep. And so something that didn't change in either version was Tentomon wants to eat snow in both versions. Like he just says, is it edible? Can I eat it?
Oh, he's just hungry.
Yeah.
He wants to have igloo as a food or anything. There's an amazing line in the English where they're like, we should make a snowman. And someone goes, Snowmon? What's that?
I did like that, yeah.
I had to look that up. Apparently that's not real. I'm
Yeah.
sad.
I do like how Gomamon started off the episode because it does sort of sets the scene. It sort of says, this episode, maybe it has something to do with Gomamon and Joe's relationship. Maybe they have a lot of conflict, same in the Japanese version of Biyomon Gets Firepower, where that sort of put down a scene of them having a conflict, but this is in the English version and they're giving us sort of an idea that, hey, there's conflict between these two Digimon.
Maybe that's implied because the episode references, say, its evolution.
Yeah.
And you can tell because of the silhouette of the evolution and it's connected in the intro.
Gee,
and
I wonder who Ikakumon is.
Also how every single other episode has had this plot.
Yeah. So it gives you a really big idea of, guess what? Goemon's next, and it's called Ikakumon, and he roars, and he has a harpoon torpedo.
And here's the deal. You know what? If I hadn't seen... I have seen the episode now. But if I hadn't seen it, I could have told you that the main character would have something they have to figure out about themselves. and then there would be a big Digimon, probably of perfect level, and a Black Gear would get into it at some point, and to protect the particular hero of the day, and it had to be Joe because he's the last one that isn't Takeru. Uh, then Gomon would have to evolve and fight it and win, and then break the Black Gear, and they'd be like, "Haha, we did it!" And that's what the plot of the episode is. But
Yeah.
that's not the most interesting thing about the episode. Like, there's actually stuff going on. In fact, the plot that I just said is minor and token, I want to say. Like, it almost seems like they did it because they had to, but they didn't, it didn't belong in the episode. They had enough stuff going on without it. So they find a hot spring.
And it's far too hot and they don't want to go in. But they do find another weird device, the refrigerator.
Oh, in Japanese they call this the hot spring an onsen. You know, the
Yeah, and that's
traditional,
what, and then that's what hot spring is.
but like a traditional Japanese bath, and I think they have more like implied in that. And then
Yeah,
in English it's like, oh, just a hot spring. Hopefully it'll be okay.
yeah,
So I think the disappointment makes more sense it makes more sense in the Japanese
yeah.
where they're expecting like a civilized thing.
Yeah, they're expecting a ryokan. They're expecting, people there.
They're expecting little towels, which I imagine some of the audience of the show want, but
Hey,
uh,
I want to go to an onsen. Onsens are great fun. When I went to Japan with my school, no one wanted to go with me because they didn't want to see anyone naked.
you went to a weird school.
Well, all the boys went in together and they had inappropriate conversations, apparently.
That's what
But
you do.
no one wanted to go in the onsen with me, so I went in by myself.
Oh, what a nerd.
Yeah, no one wanted to see me naked for some reason.
Uh, there's a fridge with eggs in it.
Yeah,
a
and then
lot
they
of-
have then they have the idea of boiling the eggs in the onsen, which is actually a really clever idea.
Except the onsen the hot spring looks like sludge.
It is purple, yeah.
So,
It may be Numamon.
oh God,
It may
no.
be shiny Numamon.
Maybe it's boiling poop.
Ew. Oh.
Uh,
So they start discussing on what they like on their eggs, and it's relatively normal in the Japanese version.
except for
Um,
natto. Natto's garbage.
I love natto.
No, you don't. No one loves that.
It's like Vegemite but not gross.
Oh, no.
That's how I can describe it.
You're wrong. Vegemite's great. Natto is terrible.
No, natto's fantastic.
Ugh. I don't know what ponzu is, but that's the other thing.
Yeah. So Izzy says that. Oh, so Koichiro says that he likes ponzu with his eggs, which is a citrus-based sauce. But in the English version, he says he wants mustard and jelly beans on his.
You forgot that Matt wants salsa? And
Yeah,
that.
which is that's fine. Those are normal.
What about ketchup on your
Yeah.
eggs?
Yeah. But people have bacon and eggs with tomato sauce.
Nah. Okay. I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. Like most of them seem pretty normal. So the English version decides to why have normal when we can have funny?
And then Mimi has the best one. Maple syrup and cherries.
Yeah, you can have that. Like I'm not gonna food shame.
I will food shame anyone I have to so they're not eating eggs with maple syrup and cherries.
I mean, I wouldn't personally have that. I like my eggs with eggs and also bacon.
What about with Vegemite?
Oh.
Oh, you know, you're food shaming. You're food shaming.
No, but Vegemite's not good.
You're shaming the whole country. Why are you food shaming the whole country? What happens next is that they're all sitting around talking, and Joe is getting really defensive about his like salt and pepper on eggs.
Yeah, because he just wants it normal.
And I had this stuff written down. I really like Joe in the Japanese here because he's characterized as like trying to be responsible, but he's really overwhelmed with it, and so that he like snaps at small stuff like the eggs. And I think it's implied that the eggs thing isn't really that important to him. He doesn't really care about it, but it matters because it's like home and it's the way he likes things, and it needs to be correct because he's responsible, needs to make things right. And that comes up really interesting later. Whereas I think in English, all the kids make fun of each other, which is fine. That's interesting too in its own way. But it like they take shots at Joe, so he looks more defensive. So it stops looking like a development coming from him, but just a reaction to everyone else. Because then right after this, Matt and Ty are arguing about what to do. One of them wants to climb the mountain, and one of them wants to not do that because it's probably dangerous.
Yeah.
And they ask Joe what he thinks, and he can't really make a decision. And so he's under pressure and he can't make decisions, but he feels like he should, and that's really interesting. Whereas in English, it's more Matt and Ty arguing about who's going to be the leader and then seeing which one of them he'll back up, which is a completely different scenario, which is mostly done in like tone. There's one or two lines about it, so the translation isn't a big deal of it. It's a lot of tone and voice acting.
Mm. Like, I definitely got from this that maybe Joe's more of a leader than Ty is. Like, he definitely takes on a lot of responsibility as the eldest. And, like, he seems the most, like, maybe responsible one, the most reliable, the most, like, normal, I guess.
Well,
Like, he just wants his salt and pepper on his eggs.
well, I think that's a thing that doesn't communicate well to the English audiences, like the specific Japanese age dynamics. Like, I think Sora at one point calls Joe senpai, and he's talking about, I'm the oldest, I have to look after everyone. And that's the way the camp works.
Joe decides that he wants to go in the middle of the night to check up the mountain, and he wants to go alone so he doesn't put anyone in danger. So then he realizes that Goemon's following him. Now, in the dub, he seems that he doesn't want Goemon to come along, but in the sub, he's just sort of, he's like, oh, you're not going to tell me, are you? And he's like, no, and then they just go along. But in the dub, it's more of a, oh, what are you talking about? I'm just coming for a walk in this direction, Joe. Like, seems in a different tone. Like, Goemon seems like, no, I'm not here to be here, and Joe's like, don't follow me. But in the Japanese version, like Joe's pretty welcoming to the idea of Goemon coming with him.
I just like that they're both climbing them. Like, I like the decision to climb the mountain on his own. It's exceptionally dangerous and stupid. Like, ridiculously. I read a thing about how climbing mountains is really dumb, and you're basically killing yourself in the process.
Especially if you're 12.
Especially if it's called Infinity Mountain.
If you're 12 and have with your purple mohawk dog. Purple with orange mohawk dog.
Otter dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a cute scene of them climb the mountain together in both the English and Japanese. And I like the development of Joe trying to take an action and do stuff for the good of everyone else. It's all really nice. And then he comes across Unimon, which, here's a question. Is it really a mix of a unicorn and a Pegasus if it's actually just a Pegasus with a horn bolted to its face?
I think there's definitely a horn there, but it's under the mask.
Well,
Like,
there's
it's
no
sort
way
of
to
like a
tell.
helmet thing. Well, I'm just going to assume that he's got a horn there.
Here's the deal. If I was a Pegasus in the digital world, I would just strap a horn to my face and just pretend.
Yeah, good point. But Unimon's a cool name.
No, it's Collegemon.
Ha, I get it. So in the Japanese version, Unimon doesn't talk like that much. Like in the English version, they put all these lines like, "Oh, are you invited to the party too?" And he has like this sort of pseudo English accent, I think.
Yeah, it was weird they add extra lines to him, but he didn't really say anything of value,
Yeah.
so there wasn't much to say.
Well, I think that Unimon is a soft-spoken sort of quiet, keeps to himself. Digimon is quite polite, but keeps to himself.
As all horses are,
Yeah, and he doesn't really want to talk.
as all horses don't.
Well, he's a Digihorse.
I know all about Digihorse.
The Black Gear shows up and Unimon goes berserk and starts attacking them.
Did you notice that it's suddenly daytime?
I did.
They're climbing a mountain at night. The Black Gear shows up. Oh no, the sun's in my eyes, and it's
So
noon.
it might be like maybe it is sort of like the early morning and they did quite a bit of climbing, and then during that time the sun came up.
No,
That's
between frames, it went from dark to light.
maybe the animator stopped caring.
Like, we need it to be bright now, but I colored everything dark already. Well, it's bright now. Just deal with it. Well, the kids will never notice.
Anyway, so they fight, and then
And the other
Sora, yeah, and then Sora realizes that she's not there, so she and Tai go to find him, and they fight. and then the best line in the series comes up when when Greymon is fighting, and Greymon gets knocked down, and in the Japanese version, Taichi says, "Greymon, are you all right?" But in the dub,
Raymond, are you gonna be all right?
I'm styling, dude.
I always like that Greymon really can't fight this thing because he has tiny, stubby T-Rex arms.
yeah, which is what he does. He waves them in the air, and I love that.
He can fire Nova Blast. He's like, not gonna try and jump for it.
Yep.
And then, easily best bit of the episode, the coward Joe jumps onto the unicorn in midair and tries to rip the gear out of its back. At no point is he like, "Hey, Gobamon, you can do this." He's like, "No, I'm just gonna go do it. I'm going
Because
to."
he's the leader. He's trying to be a leader. He's trying to be the one to save the day, and he wants to take it out. And he sees his friends in danger, and like I don't think he has much faith in Gomamon. Gomamon can't evolve, so he just sort of he sees it. He can see that he can make the jump, so he goes for it. He jumps on the back of Unimon, and he wants to pull at the black gear, and that's his theory.
And in Japanese, he's like, "I'm the oldest. I have to look after everybody," and that's fairly well reasoned out, and I really like that. And in English, he's like, "This is a bad idea," and then just does it anyway.
Yeah.
Then he falls, and then I don't know. I guess he just falls to his death because let's be honest. Like Gomon sees him falling and evolves, but if you're falling at terminal velocity, right, falling onto a fuzzy walrus will not save you from a 300-meter fall.
Well, if he's really soft.
It doesn't matter how soft you are. And then I found this really weird. Like I'm sure. Maybe it was to misdirect kids for like 5 minutes, but it is weird that the clearly water Digimon is fighting the sky Pokemon. I mean Digimon.
Yeah, like I am also thinking that like we didn't really see Seadramon out of the water. Like we saw Seadramon in the water. So like I mean he has feet, like he can move. But just like you can see a walrus like on land. He might not be too happy about it, but you can see him like he'll walk around, you can see him move, and he won't like move, he won't be very fast at moving, but like he won't die.
He has an anti-air torpedo. Torpedoes don't
useful.
fire into the air. Torpedo by definition goes underwater.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like the Digimon fight was really contrived. They never had to meet Unimon, or at least they never had to just randomly stick a gear in his back, only to have it broken out 5 minutes later. Honestly, I think if they just made it a quiet episode in which, the mountain opens up, all the gears fart out of the mountain, and then it closes, and they try to figure out what's going on, that unto itself is compelling enough with the character stuff going on with Joe.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think, like, he needed it. His big overcoming moment was climbing the mountain at all.
Yeah.
And I think that they could have had it climb the mountain, he dodges some danger, sees the island, comes back and reports down to them. And that would have been more interesting than wasting time. Like, and I get it, you have to have the fight because A, you need the thing to evolve, and B, the kids will get bored. But it would have been nice to have a break from the same formula over and over and over again.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Also, you may have noticed, it was I mean, it happens in both, but in the English one particularly, they go, we should go to the peak of the mountain. We should go climb the mountain. And then no seconds later, they're just up there. And like, we did it. Just cuts them being at the top of the mountain.
I guess that's sort of like the pacing. They don't really have any sort of 3 hours later or later on this happens.
Also, Matt doesn't complain. Matt, who was completely against climbing the mountain, is now like, yeah, okay.
I think it's because once his friend's been up there and it's like, oh well, I guess we already faced the danger.
And then they find out that the place is an island and there's no way off it.
Yeah.
And in the Japanese, they're freaking out. And
oh yeah, this is a really weird change.
But that's weird because in Japanese they know it's called File Island.
Yeah.
So when they find out that it's an island, that said, I guess from a Japanese perspective, islands aren't necessarily completely isolated. Like, I guess, Japan's made up of islands, so maybe they're seeing there's no land in the distance. But Izzy already got a map of the island. He knows what it looks like.
Oh yeah, on his computer. That's right.
And so, like in the ending in America Land, is that like they're kind of concerned, but they're like, but it's not all that bad. We still learn stuff. so it's not quite as hopeless. And yeah, I think that's the end of the episode. They're really quite similar most of the time. I think Joe's age dynamics is really interesting in Japanese, but misses out in English. But otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I like how they're sort of like the what want to fight part with Gomamon and Joe. I just really like that.
All right,
And also
Gomon tries to be a
Gomamon
cool
is a
guy.
little and Gomamon's a little bit of a tsundere. Like he's like, oh, I'm not blushing. I'm not a hero. And another thing I noticed is that at the end when they're looking out, the narrator in the Japanese version says Taichi and the others became discouraged when they found that File Island was a solitary island in the middle of a vast sea. But in the English version, they scrapped that.
So Gomamon and I fought all the way to the top to see what was there. And we found, well, nothing. But I think we discovered quite a bit on the way up.
But they did find out something. They found out that they were on an island in the middle of a vast sea, and I just,
Well, it's
they
just
didn't. They knew that they were on an island, but I don't think they knew, like, it could be an inland island. It could be like an island that's like pretty close between. You can probably just fly on a Digimon, but you can't see any land. Like, I think that's quite a discovery.
I think they were only trying to find out if there was an escape route. So when they didn't find one of those, that's nothing.
So, what did you think of this episode as someone who was new to Digimon?
Well, this said, like, I think that the dynamics of the oldest one trying to look after everybody is really interesting. And in English, when it becomes more they're making fun of him, so he's trying to prove that he can be brave a little bit. It wasn't as interesting, but it's fine. I think them finding out this island is good. They've evolved the last of the adults of the older kids Digimon. I assume that we're waiting on Takeru's to evolve, mostly because I know the name of the next episode and it doesn't have a Digimon's name in it. uh, Also because that would make thematic sense for the youngest one not to have his one evolve immediately.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's the formula, right? You stumble on a piece of you have a need, like being hungry, which is the second or third time it's happened. You find a piece of technology, you argue a little bit, you run into an evil Digimon, you beat it with a newly evolved Digimon, and everyone is safe.
Yeah.
And it's the same format. At least the last one had like more development going on, and was high as hell. Whereas this one had some stuff going on in Japanese, and I don't know, not much going on else otherwise. It was fine. It was serviceable. Uh, I imagine we're finally getting into the story because again, I know the name of the next episode, and it sounds like the plot is going to show up.
Yeah, it sounds like plot shows its face. So obviously, you as you said, you preferred Togemon and Toy Town to this episode because of the development.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I specifically enjoyed it because it was this nice break from Moo Moo or whatever we're calling her.
Yeah, like she seemed more like a reasonable character in this.
Mm. And I think that the character development moments of the episodes have been fairly good and getting arguably better. Like Saurus is good, but that's mostly it's mostly Piomon doing the work. Or Biomon? I can't remember.
It's either. It's Piomon and Biomon, so you can use either.
Right. And then Mimi's development. Mimi's personal development isn't amazing. It's nice to not have her super annoying. It's weird when she goes, "Man, they're all weirdos anyway. I'm out of here." But Joe,
Yeah.
I really like Joe's, and it's subtle, but I really like his. Like I'm responsible. I have to look after everybody, but I'm breaking under the pressure. And in English, I noticed that Matt and Ty are having like actual leadership fights, which I imagine will continue into the future.
Yeah, so it's a good setup for the characters. So what about these episodes? The Japanese version of Biomon gets firepower, which you said you enjoyed. Do you still like that episode better, or are these episodes a bit better than that, or?
That's rough, actually. To be honest, because it's more character focused, I think that I liked the Japanese version of the Ukakumon episode probably a little bit more. Like it's more subtle, and I think that the work of showing like Biyomon being really grating and annoying, but also like loving and that sort of stuff. That was really good, but it doesn't. This episode here doesn't focus on the monster fight. In fact, it could completely do without it, and it would be the best episode because it just I don't know. It takes him away from the coward role,
Mm.
and in both languages, and it covers all this really interesting internal stuff that's going on with Joe, uh, or stuff that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
They really do resolve this stuff very fast.
Yeah. Well, they only have like 20 minutes to do it.
No, what I mean, they have other episodes. They have 50 episodes.
Oh, yeah. 54, I
Yeah.
think. In Rory Kakumon, which differences did you find that were justified, or did you find any that weren't justified?
Oh, well, the biggest one and the most obvious is that the show doesn't like to move focus away from Tai. By which I mean, while Joe in Japanese is this guy having like a mental, like an internal problem where he's stressed and he's completely being crushed by responsibility. He feels he has as the oldest. In the English one, all the kids they're like making fun of him because he's just Joe and he's like that, and so he gets defensive about it. And when he's in the middle of Ty and Matt, they're having a leadership argument and they're trying to get him to side with them rather than them asking his opinion as direction. And then when he doesn't come to a decision, they blame him in English, whereas it works differently that way. I don't know. It's slight changes in focus. The translations are fairly similar though. I just like the more Joe-centric one.
Yeah. And so in the Digimon that were introduced in this episode, so Togemon, Numamon, Monzaemon, Unimon, and Ikakumon, what do you think of the designs?
Okay, well, let's put it this way.
You have a lot to say about Togemon,
Numamon is garbage. Numamon is
literally.
like it's literally just shit. And Monzaemon is a teddy bear. It took no design to make him. He's a teddy bear. The only thing I like about him, and it's not even something I really like, it's just his stupid red eyes. Because they're really evil, but they're also canon, so they had to close his eyes so you wouldn't see how evil he is.
Yeah.
Uh, and Unimon is kind of stupid. It's a Pegasus with the thing bolted to its face.
I think he looks kind of cool. Like, I think he
Yeah,
looks pretty cool.
I guess. Like what I like are the ones that look natural, like Kabuterimon and Red Baronmon
And Togemon.
and Greymon kind of. I guess it's got a weird skull on its face,
Okay,
but
Garurumon's
I-
pretty natural.
Garurumon's fine. Like the ones that are half technology are really weird because if you were fully digital and you could program whatever, why wouldn't you be better technology, right?
Yeah.
If you have Gatling guns, why not lasers? Why does the bear get lasers and the other guys get guns, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't, and for whatever reason, Unimon is implied to be like a holy animal because it has holy shot, so it has religious connotations for whatever reason.
Mm.
And as far as the kids Digimons go, like Ikakumon's awesome. It's a giant walrus. It's adorable. Big fan of that. It shoots its horn though, right?
Yeah.
How does it grow it back?
I think the horn opens up and the torpedo goes through like out of that, and then it closes up.
Oh well, okay. I guess it has a big clip of torpedoes inside.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Togemon is hilarious. It makes almost no sense, but I kind of like it. It's just this weird little plant becomes a big cactus with boxing gloves. There's a bit I forgot. There's one bit where Mimi is hugging Palmon really really tight, and Palmon
Oh yeah, I
goes,
had this.
You're choking me. I can't
You're-
breathe."
You're breaking my stem.
But the one about can't breathe, she said in the other episode she photosynthesizes, so she doesn't need to breathe.
No, but she doesn't know what photosynthesis is.
But she doesn't need a throat for it.
Yeah.
She doesn't have lungs.
Well, you don't know like Palmon's anatomy and organs.
I can guess it's a plant.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think.
All right. So join us next week for Evil Shows His Face or Devimon,
No,
the
you
Messenger
messed
of
up.
Darkness.
I'll do
What?
it. Join us next time on Kino no Tabi. Evil shows his face.
Or Devimon, the Messenger of Darkness.
Devimon? The
Yeah,
devil?
maybe.
They're fighting
And
the devil.
we'll also be watching Sub-Zero Ice Punch or Clash, the Freezing Digimon. If you want to keep updated with us on social media, we're at TranslationMon on Twitter and Lost in TranslationMon on Facebook and Tumblr. We'd really appreciate it if you gave us a review on iTunes just to help get the word out. Listen in next week for more Digitude.
Let's kick